Raking in millions of dollars year after year for playing hockey, these guys are absolutely living the dream, but those dreams can easily turn into nightmares if that money is put into the wrong hands. Even if you're super careful with spending it, making that kind of money immediately puts a target on your back, and oftentimes the wrong type of people tend to gravitate towards you, looking to get their hands on your hard-earned cash. Keeping that in mind, here's a list of NHL players who went on to lose millions of dollars. Dany Heatley, drafted second overall in the 2000 entry draft by the Atlanta Thrashers and won the Calder Trophy in 2002, Dany Heatley's career as a pro hockey player seemed to be on a trajectory for greatness. But like I'm sure a lot of you are aware of, his career quickly derailed after getting into a car accident that took his teammate's life. But that's another story for another video. Over the duration of his career, which came to an end in 2015 as an Anaheim Duck, Heatley made over $59 million during his time in the NHL. In August of 2012, it was revealed that Heatley had filed an $11 million lawsuit against his longtime agent and business advisor, Stacey McAlpine, who had apparently been stealing money from Heatley for years through unauthorized withdrawals and bogus real estate ventures. The amount taken from unauthorized withdrawals added up to about $4 million, and after a lengthy court process, Heatley was awarded $6.5 million, and McAlpine was later arrested and charged with fraud, money laundering, and theft. Heatley wasn't the only NHLer who got bested by McAlpine. Former Senators teammate Chris Phillips also initiated a $7.5 million lawsuit against Stacey to recover lost money as a result of bad real estate deals. Mike Vernon, Ray Whitney, and Len Barry. Mike Vernon and Ray Whitney have a couple of things in common. Number one, they both had successful careers in the NHL. Vernon won 2 Stanley Cups, the Conn Smythe and the Jennings Trophy. Ray Whitney had also won a Stanley Cup. The second thing they have in common is losing a ton of money investing in a golf resort named Bear Mountain Golf Resort. Now, they weren't the only ones to take an L on this resort, as there were a total of 18 pro hockey players who also lost out on this investment. Altogether, these NHLers invested over $12 million. However, out of the 18 players who invested, Mike Vernon and Ray Whitney were the top 2 investors, as Vernon put in $2 million plus a $7.6 million loan guarantee, and Ray Whitney forked over $3 million to the development. Okay, so you gotta spend money to make money. Well, that just didn't happen here. The Bear Mountain investment fail was led by former NHL player Len Barry, who, when you Google his name, the title of Vancouver Island's most racist developer pops up. So you know this could only end badly. Len stated that the resort would be worth in and around $3.5 billion, which would make for a handsome return. But it turns out he misled these former cup winners, as it was repossessed by the bank for a $300 million debt. This resort became a dumpster fire almost immediately, as its development destroyed indigenous heritage sites and ignored provincial guidelines on heritage prevention. Eventually, the development of the resort came to a halt, and it emerged that Len Barry had fleeced investors, small creditors, and contractors. On top of that, it was reported that in 2008, Barry improperly diverted $16 to $20 million from the resort to purchase the NHL's Tampa Bay Lightning. Needless to say, Len Barry eventually lost everything, and the only good thing he produced was his son, Tyson Barry. Well, that's actually up for debate, especially if you're a Leafs fan. Evander Kane. Throughout his career, up until 2021, Evander Kane had earned over $50 million from playing in the NHL. But in January of 2021, Kane filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So where did all his money go? Well, apparently Kane had gambling debts worth about $1.5 million and altogether accumulated a debt worth $26.8 million. On July 6th, Kane stated that he was in a vicious cycle of just taking out new loans to pay off existing loans, led by a company named Sure Sports, which specialized in contract-based loans to athletes. I should mention that Sure Sports is now being sued by the U.S. bankruptcy trustee for its role in Kane's bankruptcy. You know you're in trouble when the company that's helping you get loans is being sued by the U.S. bankruptcy trustee. Here are some of Kane's notable expenses. $1.5 million in gambling losses, $10 million in real estate that included monthly payments of $100K, and my favorite, he purchased a Pokemon card for $9,000. I'm not sure what card it actually is, but I'm dying to find out. If you know what card he bought for $9,000, let us know in the comments below. Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson has earned about $20 million throughout his time in the NHL, and on top of that, he was part of one of the most legendary Stanley Cup runs we've ever seen with the Colorado Avalanche in the 21-22 season. $20 million and a Stanley Cup? This man's gotta be laughing. Well, not quite. In 2008, Johnson had fired his agent and decided to put his parents in control of his finances. The result of this was absolutely disastrous as it led Johnson to file for bankruptcy. How bad was it? Well, here's what Johnson had to say when asked to comment on his financial struggles. "I'd say I picked the wrong people who led me down the wrong path." Damn, saying that about your own parents has to hurt. The situation was so bad that an NHL executive said, "I've never seen a case as ugly as this one where the parents took such advantage of their kid." Sources say Jack's mother borrowed at least $15 million in her son's name in high-interest loans from non-conventional sources. His parents also went on to use his money for cars, vacations, and upgrades to their beach house. You know, classic parent stuff. Michael Pekka and Brian Berard. Making as much money as NHL players do, it's wise to seek the advice of a financial advisor. I mean, Pekka earned over $25 million and Berard brought in about $15 million. Of course they're gonna hire someone to help out. I mean, I guess they could have done what Jack Johnson did and trust their parents, but they'd probably still end up on this list. Unfortunately, both Pekka and Berard hired financial advisor Phil Kenner and his partner Tommy Constantine, who eventually ended up stealing millions of dollars from not only Pekka and Berard, but many other NHL players. Pekka and Berard were under the impression that Kenner and Constantine were investing their money in a Mexican golf course, but in reality, these scam artists were taking their money and living it up like it was their own. Eventually catching on, Brian Berard did something straight out of a movie and helped the FBI catch these two. Phil Kenner is now serving a 17-year prison sentence, and Berard is now in the FBI. Just kidding, but he did get his money back thanks to his insurance, and someone should just make that movie already. I don't know how that hasn't been made. Bryan Trottier. With over 1,200 games played and 1,425 points scored, Bryan Trottier has had one of the most successful NHL careers we've ever seen. The man's won 6 Stanley Cups, the Calder Trophy, the King Clancy Memorial Trophy, the Conn Smythe Trophy, the Hart Trophy, and the Art Ross. You simply could not ask for a better career in the NHL. But unfortunately, after he retired, Bryan opened an ice rink business that fell flat, and in 1994, he was forced to declare bankruptcy as he was $9.5 million in debt. Things snowballed pretty quick for Bryan, and it led him into a dark depression where he contemplated suicide to end the financial mess he was in. When asked to speak on this period of time, Bryan said, "There were days where I thought, if I could just run my car into a brick wall." But speaking further on it, Bryan said he realized that in his life insurance policy, it states that if he commits suicide, he wouldn't get his death benefit. Thankfully, he pushed through those dark times and ended up back in the league as an assistant coach for the Colorado Avalanche when they won the Cup in 2001. Bobby Orr. Obviously, this goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. Bobby Orr is one of the greatest hockey players who ever lived. The man is an NHL icon who will forever be remembered for that famous flying goal. Not only was he one of the best to touch the ice, but he was also a victim of one of the worst cases of agent misconduct in sports history. Orr's agent was Alan Eagleson, who at the time was the biggest agent associated with the NHL. Eagleson was close friends with the owner of the Chicago Blackhawks, and in 1976, when Bobby Orr was a free agent but still expected to head back to the Bruins, Eagleson actually worked up a deal that caught everyone off guard and sent Bobby Orr to the Chicago Blackhawks. It was a multi-million-dollar contract with $3 million guaranteed, and Eagleson advised Orr to take it because the Bruins could not match that price. So Orr signed with Chicago, taking the advice of his agent, but soon found out that Eagleson was lying, and not only did Boston offer Orr a great deal, but they also offered him 18.5% ownership stake of the team. Now brace yourself for this, I'm about to say a huge number. that percentage would be worth $240 million today. Thanks for watching our videos. Don't forget to hit that like button, and if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next video.